the Jubilee is coming. Oh, the Jubilee is coming. All these books. Yogananda. This one's about John Lennon. Let's see. We got fiction, Jack London. We have the Bhagavad Gita, very good book. 1984, George Orwell, excellent work. Comparative Religion, also a really good book. Gosh, since we have books, I guess we got it made, right? I don't know. Things don't seem totally it made outside. There was a time when all of this was inside of us. There was so much inside of us. We were the infinity. But we did not have control over that infinity. So if we needed to know something, it would come to us. If we needed entertainment, it would come to us, and we could just say it. If we needed to know how to stay safe, that would just come to us. Long ago, in the primitive, when God created man, he was very still open to divinity and therefore really didn't need books. See, books have come on the scene very late. We often think, oh, all these books, we're such geniuses. Oh, we have created books. Oh, we're so great. But in some ways, they are like the dead remains of old gods that we have killed because we found them to be inconvenient. And so we wrote down some things and put them in a book. And this is like the corpse or the mummy of those old dead gods. And when things are outside of us, we can really quickly forget that these things are possible within us, that there is an intelligence within us. It does not really take a book to find God. It doesn't take a video series. It doesn't take a song. It's there already. And so sometimes these kinds of holy books are really just like compromises with a sort of a fucked up system to where people are self-impressed and so proud of the things that they make and forget that those things are really dead comparatively to the infinite intelligence in their heart. And so what in recent history, some of the most profound spiritual works are really anti-books in a way. They're meant to move you back to a bookless existence. I'm trying to find if I have the Tao Te Ching, which is an excellent example of that, which specifically advocates to returning to a very pure and natural original way of being. There was a time long ago when we were closer to divinity, and this brings up the subject of duality. There really is only one spiritual issue, and that is duality. When we are close to God, we don't experience massive duality because the source of life is very close to us. But when we run far away from that source of life, we become estranged from it, and we miss it a little bit. But we enjoy the distance between God and ourselves. And yes, duality exists on purpose. It's not a horrible cancer. But like the infinity symbol, sometimes duality gets annoying, and so we want to go back. And then sometimes we want to go back into duality, and then we want to go back to God. And it's this pattern that just keeps happening for all time, sort of like God pushing us on a swing. Oh, we're with God, yay. And then God pushes us away, and we're like, oh, we're separate. This is kind of scary, but it's also fun. Wait, oh, there's God again. And then that is basically the pattern of life. And unfortunately, sometimes people can swing far away and then say, yeah, fuck that, I'm not going back to God. I like this better. Or individuals engage in lying to say that God doesn't exist so that you treat them as a God. They are the false gods who say, what God? What are you talking about? I am the power. And why don't you just worship me instead? But they've built a wall between the actual God and those people, and they want to play God in this separate place that is far away from the real God. And going back to my point about duality, there really is only one spiritual issue, and that is duality. We often think in very spiritually materialistic ways. We think of spirituality in terms of the right spiritual knowledge, the right spiritual people, the right spiritual church, the right spiritual path. I mean, that's a little closer, but spirituality is never outside of us. It can show up outside of us, but that is a result of internal changes. At the end of The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, desperate to go back home to Kansas, is told that all she needs to do is click her heels together and say there's no place like home, and then she wakes up back in Kansas. And Oz in The Wizard of Oz is kind of like Earth. Earth is a dream that we, as gods, created as a place to get away from Kansas. And because it's just different, they wanted something different, a place to play. And so, in order to go back, all one has to do is say, there's no place like home, click your heels together, or do whatever you need to do to wake yourself up, and then, oh, I'm back. And so here's the thing. When you engage in that kind of anti-dualistic unity thinking and just say, oh, there's nowhere to go. I never left. Oh, I'm back. Things might get weird in your life. I transitioned gender because, in part, I woke up to the fact that I was not really on Earth, that I existed in the mind of God, and that this was not real. And so my transition was the weird, absurd way of expressing that, which was, I don't belong here, and I know that I exist in an infinite mind, and I am not just this ape on this planet of materiality. And so, but the most important thing is just to remember that you never left. If you can remember that you never left, God will start showing up on the outside. I promise you. that is the secret above all others, that could be written in a few sentences, is just remember that this is the dream, and that there's actually no way that you can get outside of God. The only thing that you can do to forget God is to keep building walls and keep hiding and become like Gollum in the Lord of the Rings books, where he knows how to be separate with his magical ring, and that gives him this like lust to stay hidden. And Frodo knows that must be overcome. Our hiddenness must be overcome. We must come out of our shells. We must break ourselves out of our eggs. And it's not going to show up with the perfect book, the perfect video. It's only going to happen when you realize you're already there. And then, like, there might be this period where things start changing, or you could remember it and then it doesn't really take effect for like a year later. Reality tends to have its own schedule. That's the thing about Earth reality, is it's really slow. That's why the gods like to play here, is because it's really slow, orderly. There's like this timer that runs everything at the appropriate time. In the other reality, once you think it, it happens. So it's very different. But you have to think like a god to go back. And the best way to do that is click your heels together and just say, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. And I think I remember in December of 2020 when I had the big breakthrough. And I realized that any kind of seeking, searching for God was all delusion. That I was with God and I was infinite, and that there was nowhere to go, nothing to find. I was already infinite. I mean, that means there is no I anymore, but just infinity is. And that this being is floating in it like a sea of love. And from that time forward, my need for things outside of myself, even my need for spiritual books, has just become really diminished. I really in many ways, we have to build this sort of stairway to heaven with these bizarro spiritual books, and don't get me wrong, they're definitely beautiful, and most especially spiritual poetry is really just I don't know how that can ever be not beautiful. But don't think about having your book, and if you just have it around like an idol, you'll be safe. What you're actually doing is holding that power outside of yourself instead of letting it come inside of yourself. You sort of need to eat the Bible, and then it's just in your heart after a point. And most people don't do that. They want to be able to turn it off. See, so when they're around other Christians, they're like, see, I got my power. But then when they go to work, nope. What are you talking about? And they're afraid to actually put the Bible or the message into their heart and make it unable to turn off. Because that's problematic. It gets you in trouble. Our society is set up to search for people that believe in the new faith and persecute them. But people will not like you if you really put the truth of unity and God in your heart. And that's fine, because the truth and unity is in your heart, and you have no fear anymore. And you know that nothing can hurt you. Your body might, go away, but your soul is indestructible at that point. So yeah, maybe you reconnect. And it's just like a little slider in your brain. It's like separate, unity, and then oh, I'm back. Nice. That was fun. Maybe I'll do that again in the future. Oh, somebody died today. All you ever had is in the middle of your soul. You never needed all the money to eradicate the whole. Oh, somebody died today. All you ever had is in the middle of your soul. You never needed all the money to eradicate the whole. All you ever had is in the middle of your soul. You never needed all the money to eradicate the whole.